What's up guys, I'm Nick and this is Build Dad Build, a place where we believe if you're gonna go back to school, do it online so you can do it with the whiskey in one hand. What's up guys, this video series has actually been requested quite a few times by my subscribers. So we're gonna do a little power carving 101. In this video, we're mainly gonna talk about carving with the Dremel tool. However, we will talk about flex shaft carvers and if it's necessary to have one of these, or if you can do everything with this that you can with this. Now this is mainly gonna be a brief overview. I'm gonna go kind of quick. If you wanna get really into the nuts and bolts of everything, you have a paid course that I will link below if you wanna go more in detail than this YouTube video does. So first and foremost, we have the Dremel. This is the Dremel 3000, not to be confused with the Death Race or the Gluck Gluck. Anatomy of this thing is pretty simple. Check out this pen. I got this from Bear Make It. He did a burnt wood cedar pen. Pretty cool, huh? You've got your bit. That's the carvy part. So I'm gonna pop that out just to show you how to change this out. So you've got what's called a spindle lock here. That's this little button right here. You push that in, you rotate this until it stops. I don't know if you heard that, but it locked. A lot of times you'll need one of these guys. These come with every Dremel. Basically, you're just gonna loosen it here. As soon as that's a little loose, you can pull the bit out and swap them out. So this is your chuck, inside's a collet. Basically what you do is you push the bit inside there, you tighten this down, that collet pinches against it and holds it in place. Groovy? Oh, so groovy, baby. So the anatomy of all these tools is gonna be about the same. I'm gonna continue to refer this to as a Dremel because it is a Dremel, but this is a rotary tool, brand name Dremel. You've got your chuck and your collet, you've got your spindle lock button, then you've got your motor, which is inside this piece right here. You have your variable speed, so this is gonna be your on and off and variable speed. Some rotary tools have variable speed up here and then they have a separate on and off button. And them to the guts, basically. So this is a newer one, but I mean, I've used this for years before that. Okay, so I don't know how old this one is, but I've had this for 10, I think almost 15 years now, and I got it used. So as long as you take care of them, they do last a long time. Also, there's a ton of different kinds of bits out there. I'm just gonna go over the basic ones that are usually used for wood carving, just to kind of give you an idea of where I started. I was gifted this box with that Dremel, and I've kind of changed these bits out now, but this thing was just full of different kinds of Dremel bits. And the guy that used that Dremel used to make custom orthotics for people, so he had a bunch of stuff that I still have, but I probably will never use because he had a lot of polishers and different stone grinders and things because he was working with a lot of plastic. And I only really tell you that just to let you know that that's how versatile a Dremel tool is. What makes your Dremel so versatile is gonna be the burrs that you can use with it. You'll hear me say bit and burr interchangeably. That's probably incorrect someplace, but I don't care. To me, anything you chuck up is a bit. And before we go any further, I'd like to give a special shout out to KUTZALL. KUTZALL has provided me with quite a few bits during my time with power carving, and they sent me some more out for this video. So those are the products you're gonna be seeing mainly. I'll leave a link down below. You can get 5% off if you use the link or my promo code, which I think is DADBUILD, but I'm not positive. I have to double check that one. So don't be a basic bit. All right, so basic burrs. First up, we have a ball nose burr, and I don't know if you can see that one. This is a tungsten carbide one. This is not a KUTZALL burr, but that's kind of what it looks like. It's rounded at the top, and then it's got a cylindrical shape. Next up, you've got a cylinder burr. So that's gonna look about the same as the ball nose, except it doesn't have that rounded top. This is a KUTZALL burr. You'll see it's a little bit more aggressive. You've got your dovetail burr. It's kind of like an upside down cone. Next, we're talking about my personal favorite, the flame burr. I wonder why. It doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I like to light stuff on fire, does it? And last, as far as basic wood carving burrs go, you've got your sphere or your ball. Then you've got different coarsenesses of burrs. Are the grammar police coming, or the spelling police, or the pronunciation police? Is that a thing? Coarseness? Is that a thing? It sounds like it's a thing, but it also sounds like I'm mispronouncing something. So first you'll have fine grit, or a lot of times you'll hear them referred to as diamond burrs, and that's gonna be like your sandpaper. That's gonna be what's smooth. Next you have a medium burr, something like this. This one's tungsten carbide. They'll range in names from medium to coarse grit, kind of depending on where you buy them usually. Medium bits are usually used for shaping and some small material removal. Then above that, you've got your very coarse or very aggressive burrs. You'll know them when you see them. They do look like nightmare fuel to a certain degree, but they are delicious, my friends. They're delicious and they do wonderful things for you. And once you get into the very aggressive bits, you're really only gonna be able to pick those up from more well-known companies like KUTZALL, Sabertooth, places like that. Honorable mentions go out to rotary saws and the little drum sander bits. But this is a 101 video, and since it's a series, I don't want this to be too long. And two things I'd like to address before we get further into the burrs. One is always make sure you have some eye protection, and I used to always wear these and they would fog up. And then Matt over at Cornelius Creations was the one who recommended to look for anti-fog safety goggles, which is what these are. Especially when you get these on and you're wearing a mask, they just don't fog up. They're fantastic. And that brings me to the second thing, which is it's really weird for me to be doing a Power Carving 101 video because I learned all of my basic stuff from Matt at Cornelius Creations and Jordy over at Carving Fusion. I'll link both their YouTube channels below, but if you're really serious about power carving, you need to go check both those guys out. Both like just wealth of knowledge. Also, I will not be wearing a mask while I'm carving right now because we're going to be doing very little. We're going to be doing a lot of carving. You really want to wear a mask or respirator, especially if you're working with exotic woods. Some of those can really irritate your lungs, as well as working with some sort of dust collection or a downdraft table. Jordy has a great tutorial on how to make your own downdraft table. And guys, for this portion of it, I am gonna be using my rotary carver just because it's gonna be a little faster for me to swap out bits. But you could do the same thing with a Dremel. If you want to power carve with a flex shaft and you already have a Dremel, go pick up a flex shaft attachment for your Dremel. It looks like this. And it just literally screws onto the end of your Dremel, and then you've got your little wand down here that you can carve with. I'll link this below as well. We're gonna start out with a ball nose burr. If that gives you an idea, you can get this area kind of rounded while getting a flat edge on one side. And that bit was medium coarse. I don't have any aggressive of the ball nose. Just either use a cylinder or a ball burr. Next we have a cylinder bit. This one is a very coarse one from KUTZALL. So with that, you're gonna get a more V-shaped cut. It's gonna be less rounded and more of a very distinct line down the middle. Okay, and as far as those V-cuts go, if you wanna go with something deeper, more aggressive, you're gonna look into a dovetail bit. I used to not use the dovetail bit very much, and I really didn't know what I was missing. It's actually really amazing how it carves. The flame burr to me is kind of my multi-purpose burr. You can use the side and you can kind of subtle and soft curves, or you can get closer to the tip and you can get a little bit more aggressively in there. See how I could go light or heavy-handed with that, and then I could take the tip and actually get up in here a little bit more. A lot of people call it a sphere burr. I call it a ball burr. I think that's just because what I think of whenever I think of this burr is bowl. Like anytime you want to do like a concave type carve, you want your ball burr, so you can like think spoon, or if you had a larger one, think bowl maybe. That's kind of this thing's cup of tea. If you're carving spoons, you want a sphere burr or a ball burr. Ball, 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 bow, 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 bow. Check this out. See what I'm saying? You get a much like smoother on all sides carve with that. Don't mind that hole that was drilled through this board. This is just a scrap I picked out of the pile. All right, and then just a couple of more things that you may want to consider. I would say the cheapest and most beneficial attachment you can buy for a Dremel is this little guy right here. That goes on instead of your chuck. It goes all over the collet, and when it spins, it's like a little fan. so it blows all the dust away. Second would be the flex shaft for the Dremel, which I already went over. And then third, which we'll get into this more in the next video, is I have this little plunge router base for my Dremel. So the Dremel just screws into here, and then you can use it to carve on flat surfaces. And this, if I can't use my palm router, I like to use this, and you get really even, consistent lines with it. But like I said, we'll talk about this in a later video. Okay guys, and as it's become kind of tradition around here, it's time for our little whiskey powwow at the end. So just grab this guy right here. I want to say special thanks to Chris, who sent this bottle to me all the way from Canada. Thank you, Chris. All right, now, what are we talking about? Not a lot. I think the main thing I want to let you guys in on is don't be surprised that KUTZALL burrs are expensive. If you guys have been in the woodworking world for any length of time, you'll know that all sorts of woodworking equipment is expensive. I mean, if you can afford it, go run out and buy all the KUTZALL burrs you want to. But I understand a lot of us can't, so what I would do is I would pick up like maybe one or two, and then I will link down to some less expensive bits, some tungsten carbide bits. They will not last as long. As a matter of fact, KUTZALL burrs are the only ones I've never had to replace. They've always just lasted me. But I will link to some cheaper ones down below that you can get started with. Just know that they have a shelf life. What is that, dude? That stuff is triple oat. It tastes like caramel. If you're into that kind of thing. And the only other thing I have is to say thank you to my patrons. But let me grab my list. Since the last video, I've had 3 top tier or Boilermaker patrons join, along with about 5 or 6 other lower tier people. As you know, any tier above the $3 tier gets you a single shout out. So I would like to give a shout out to Paul Stevens. And the reason I have this out now is because my list of shout outs for every video is getting a little long. I'm not complaining. I just have kind of a shitty memory. So our 3 new top tier patrons are Charles Faulkner, Caveman Ross, and Derek Coates. Thanks guys, appreciate you, and thanks for joining that top tier. And as always, a special thanks goes out to Nick the Greek, Stephen Mann, and Easy MF&E, Eric Weiss. All right guys, that's it for part 1. We'll be moving into some more Dremel carving in the next part in the series. Also, if there's anything you guys would like me to discuss in an upcoming power carving video, leave it in a comment down below and I will add it to the list for the upcoming videos. Other than that, if you like this video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, come on, man, subscribe. I wouldn't do that to you. Only do it if you want to. And since this is a series, if you want to hit that little bell dealy, it'll let you know each time one of these videos is released. Until next time, guys, thanks for playing. Now I gotta get to work.